everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, and we're doing slop content. Alright, so they posted the ban list at a time when I couldn't do a live reaction, so we're doing a post-hoc reaction right now. I do want to say, if you want to play under this ban list in advance of the first premiere on August 2nd, you will have a chance to do so this Sunday, because we're hosting the PNM again. There's going to be a link in the description to the Poison Nectar Monthly, an all-day tournament where you can play through webcam using your own Elestrals cards. Totally free entry. There is some pretty crazy prizing. Super excited to be hosting this monthly event once again. I will say, I don't really know if I agree with all of this ban list. We'll go through it as it happens.
Sending Like a Void, Champion of Artemis, to Tartarus. Sort of.
Yeah, don't love that.
It's time
okay,
to
so first we have to skip the ad.
Experience at the highest levels of competitive play for all players. The first card that we are limiting to one copy, effective July 29th, is her.
Okay, so before we get into the first card, I do want to say I kind of finally understand Konami's perspective. A long time ago, they did away with the set ban list dates. They did so they said they could more adequately respond to problems as they happened, but in reality, what they did was just drastically decrease the amount of ban lists that they released. Elestrals is still on a set schedule. It's like ban list, set release, and you end up in positions like this one, where we have to release a ban list because we are at that position, but Firestorm metagame is pretty healthy. There's a ton of really cool, interesting decks with disparate strategies. If I had to imagine one specific card that was on the chopping block, it would, of course, be Like a Void. Like a Void is very powerful. In my opinion, he is a level of power that should be allowed to be in the game. I liked that individual cards can win the game, but I won't deny that it is very frustrating to be facing down. There's a lot of stuff on here, so we'll talk through it.
Hurricane. Hurricane was originally introduced to the game to help quell some of the challenges of players setting multiple back row and other players having to fight through that back row to ultimately gain any sort of an advantage in the clash.
You know, this is kind of a weird position. We talked a lot about if Hurricane was actually going to be good or not, and I don't know if the dust ever settled on this individual card. Like, do you play this way over-costed rune in order to blow up your opponent's back row that's often game determinative? Do you play around it with the understanding that your opponent might not even be on the card? How valuable is it in a side deck? These are questions I don't think are ever really going to be resolved, because now this is going to occupy the same psychic space as a card like Heavy Storm. You know, it's a power one-of that might accidentally win you the game. I think a lot of decks are going to continue to play it. A lot of decks that weren't playing it are now going to consider it since it's only a single main deck cost. I don't know. Personally, this is just an effect that always struck me as a little too sacky. And I understand that the card is balanced insofar as frequently you draw it and it doesn't win you the game, but the play pattern that it precipitates is not something I love. I think moving it to 1 just exaggerates that play pattern, makes it feel sackier, like more of a blowout, because there's less of a reason to play around it. But what do I know? At the end of the day, less Hurricanes, I think, is a good thing. It's just strange that we have decided as a community that 1 Heavy Storm is something you should be allowed, because it feels like 1 Heavy Storm was allowed in an analogous format, like GOAT-ish.
While this certainly does do what it intends to do, it also creates non-interaction points where players don't have any opportunity to make any moves inside their opponent, which is a huge part of what
also true at 1.
Hurricane is one of those cards that's fun to use when you're the one using it, but it feels terrible when you get blown back and your entire rune row is destroyed, and then your opponent sets up some crazy combo and you have no opportunities to interact. By putting Hurricane as a power card to 1 copy will require players to make some more difficult decisions when managing their spirit deck of whether or not they want to include the spirits to justify 1 Hurricane. We're going to continue.
Yes, I would say. It's not like water and thunder aren't good. When we talk about the spirit cost of Hurricane, we're talking about 1 wind Elestral. Certainly less than the 2 earth spirits that people are playing for the singleton copy of Earthquake.
To develop more face-down removal for the game that doesn't quite have this same effect as Hurricane, where it blows up the entire field.
And I do want to say that this development has been generally good. Thunderstorm and Blizzard are cool cards. Champ Brummelinks being able to search Blizzard has been good for the game. Thunderstorm being more available as a result of the Champ Zeus stuff is nice. And there's also other cards that deal with back row. Champ Vulgaris comes to mind.
But rather can be used a little bit more strategically, like a Thunderstorm or like a Blizzard, for example. Part of this decision to limit Hurricane...
I think a better version of this is like that those cards exist in a world where Hurricane doesn't, but the Hurricane's out now, so.
Consideration some of the cards coming in Divine Champion's livestream, and some strategies that may kind of conflict with what Hurricane is trying to do. Cards like Thunderstorm are going to see a lot more play, and because of that, players are going to need to be able to account
what does
for
that mean, I wonder?
In a world
Brontoglow 2 coming soon.
And Hurricane is at 3 copies. I think we're going to create a very bad player experience for many players and result in many non-interactive games. Hurricane is a card that we're going to continue to test and monitor, but I feel very optimistic with it at 1 copy. The next card we are limiting to 1 copy is Kinleo.
So this one's kind of weird to me. I have no problem with the Fire Nexus decks. I think that it's really cool that the Fire Nexus strategy is like the face of Elestrals. It's a deck that doesn't exist in other card games. Like, it's so easy to be like Fives is functionally just Zoo, but Fire Nexus is a deck that gets to wield repeatable removal attached to a critter a la Necrotal, using a mechanic that doesn't exist in any other game. It's Kindleo is a 2-card combo with a dozen different cards that just hold spirits. We can run the numbers, but I don't think these decks are super oppressive. I like that you can put like a Champ Volcaries and a Kindleo in a deck, and it is a strategy. You know, you have a game plan. These small synergies do come up. I will say the thing that makes me feel a little less inclined to say Kindleo should remain at 3 is that Equilinx is at 1. It does kind of feel like this effect, go 1 for 1, provided you have a Nexus bank, is something that everyone shouldn't be able to do all the time.
Kindleo has long been one of the strongest Nexus Elestral users in the game, being able to destroy an Elestral on the field regardless of their enchantment cost simply by Nexusing. Its full potential
This is a little scary though, because I will say a significant amount of the really powerful Elestrals in this game are powerful, but not oppressive because of the existence of Kindleo. You know, an Elestral that performs a removal function is a lot harder for a deck like, let's say, Nixamera to play around. I am concerned that a lack of an Elestral that performs that removal function can be a little scary. And fire isn't easy to splash in the same way that some of these other elements are. Like, you have to be in on Lavalith.
And the artifact support came in Firestorm, allowing it to unleash its full power and become one of the most dominant decks in the metagame. I've heard this saying many times that it's...
We're saying dominant decks in the metagame, but like, to what degree? Like, we're talking about a deck that has like 10% play rate in Swiss and maybe 20 in Top Cut.
It's the second Kindleo that gets you. And Firecasters will have plenty of tools to access their one copy of Kindleo.
I have never heard that ever.
The Forge to minimize the impact.
The thing that does improve this a little bit is, just like Equilinx, there are still cards that search Kindleo, but unlike Equilinx, those cards are good. You know, they're not Rummagem.
After this hit, but allow other players to
Smoltuga
focus
has
their
a 5 on it.
onto dealing with this powerful threat and ensuring that, generally speaking, they won't have to deal with it again once they see the Kindleo one time. The third and final card that will be limited to 1 copy for this list is Morolith. Now, in our last ban list, we
this one is a little less straightforward. Firstly, it's great news for me because I have a stellar Morolith, and now I don't have to track down 2 more. Secondly, so Morolith, if you're unfamiliar with Elestrals, is Magical Dragon. It's Kit Kalos. So, like, obviously this card is pretty good. The short of it is we just didn't have too much good stuff to put in the yard. We do now. We do now. Morolith has formed... Morolith has been really powerful in Blizzstrix strategies. Strategies that are still extremely powerful, despite the fact that they are very unpopular. But Morolith has gotten better recently because of a card called Champion Brummelings, which enables you to search Mountains of Boreas, which is basically just a pump spell for this card. Like, a normal cast 8/6 is just too much for most decks to deal with, irrespective of its effect that also sometimes wins you the game because Cedar Soar is a card.
Which was designed as a way to reduce the power level of Blizzstrix. And then Josh went and won a tournament with Blizzstrix, and we were like, oh wait, that's a thing. And
yeah, I don't know. I really don't know how much you can say the Josh Blizzstrix win is indicative of the power of Blizzstrix. I mean, if we were making decisions based off Josh wins, then Morfrost would have been banned.
And his combination of utilizing Mountains of Boreas alongside Brummelings to increase the power level of his Cedar Swords.
Like, this is not a scary deck to me.
And his Moroliths became incredibly overwhelming for other players. Morolith is a very unique card in the context of the other Lith Elestrals because its condition to be cast is not necessarily a comeback mechanic. It can be generated very advantageously.
That is true. Most of the Liths are designed to be played from a position where you are behind and they have this crazy powerful effect that gets you back into the game. But Morolith isn't. Morolith is like, when you're ahead, you can cast this card. And it snowballs.
By simply playing pieces like Morfrost Lycanform to be able to load up your Underworld and then resolve Morolith's casting condition. Self-mill is a strategy that has a good amount of support coming in upcoming sets, and I think that if Morolith stays at 3 copies, it would become way too overwhelming for players to deal with.
Okay, I am fine with this card moving with the assumption that future self-milling will be too good.
I also think the Frost element has a couple really cool strategies that can be explored and will continue to be highlighted in upcoming sets. And by giving a little bit more room to breathe for those other Elestrals and cards, we should see more diverse strategies coming out of the Frost element. I think all 3 of these changes will be a very positive change to the metagame.
Okay, so that's the limited changes.
Some of the more powerful cards and limit them so that their frequency is simply reduced. I think specifically with the launch of Clash as well, this should give a better new player experience for anyone trying Elestrals for the first time. I mentioned in the introduction,
we're going to be playing a lot of Clash this weekend as well.
of this video that Like a Void Champion of Artemis was going to be banned and sent to Tartarus, and that is indeed true. We are indeed banning Like a Void Champion of Artemis. This was a card that we tested extensively and looked at various combinations on how to solve the splashability of the Like a Void package and the overwhelming nature of swarming the field with multiple werepup without much interaction from your opponent. The 6/5 stat line proves to be very challenging for players to deal with, and it's all the werepups that hit the field that can turbo into various ascensions. They become very overwhelming, where if the first person to establish their Like a Void ultimately will generally win the clash, and that creates an unfun game experience for many players, especially new players who are entering the game. We looked at opportunities like limiting werepup to 1 copy, or even banning Full Moon, but ultimately the decision to ban Like a Void Champion of Artemis is a unique one, because we have a very different solution for how we're handling this card than really any other card that we've approached in the past.
I don't like this at all. You're going to hear it, and then you're going to go, oh, why are they doing this?
Now, Elestrals has done functional erratas in the past, and we've
You're errata-ing it.
also done Escape from Tartarus versions of Elestrals to kind of reimagine some of our favorite Elestrals. However, in this case, we are going to be using an errata for Like a Void Champion of Artemis to tweak its effects slightly to bring it more in line with the competitive metagame and the desires of our players. Like a Void Champion of Artemis will be on the ban list from July 29th until Livestream releases. However, it will come off the ban list when Livestream releases with a brand new errata text that will be featured in the Artemis starter deck, as well as a new printing in Shattered Stars. This errata text is going to simply change the condition where Like a Void can cast any number of werepups to now say that Like a Void can only cast werepups up to the number of suppressed cards on an opponent's field.
Man, I don't know. So, personally, I don't understand why this is happening. There's going to be a ban list, then there's going to be a new release. Why not just have it escape from Tartarus on new release and have this new effect? Like, why do this? I think it's probably because they haven't figured out how to do 2 titles on the same card yet. I don't know. This really stinks. I don't like it at all. As someone who comes from Yu-Gi-Oh! Where we do gameplay erratas, it creates this really frustrating situation for players where like they own a card that just has text that isn't how the card works. You know, the Like a Void Champions of Artemis that exist right now are still going to be in circulation. Are people who purchased that card going to have to purchase a new one? I know it's a cheap card, but like that's an annoyance. That's a step you don't really want to do. And it's made worse by the fact that this new version of it is just penis bad. It's awful. I don't know. I guess it's a 6/5. We were excited about Like a Void 1, and it was a 6/2, but it is a 6/5. There is an argument that like maybe there's a situation where like you Gorgons an opponent's critter, and then you cast Full Moon, and then you go into Like a Void, you get 1. Or maybe there's an argument that you play it in Suppression Control, the new deck coming out any day now.
Fields. I'm actually a really big fan of this change because I think it brings it more in line with what Werepup Champion of Artemis is trying to do. And
again, I think this is a fine thing the card could have said at release, but releasing it with different text and then errata-ing it without having it escape from Tartarus just feels so clunky to me.
Artemis as a strategy as a whole is trying to do, and this will allow players to continue to explore splashing Moonrise Like a Void into their decks, while also allowing suppression control-based decks to still use the power of Like a Void, but more so focused within that archetype. Players will still be able to use their Firestorm or Stellar Rare Tournament Pack Like a Voids, but they'll need to refer to the updated errata text when competing. I'm really excited
right. There was a Tournament Pack Stellar of this too. Oh, how clunky.
to hear your feedback to this approach, so please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As I
Yeah, let me know how you all feel about it too. As someone who comes from a Yu-Gi-Oh background, I am very opposed to it.
said, we have done erratas for cards in the past that did slightly change their functional effects. This is probably the most extreme case of this, and I wanted to try it out because, again, we were introducing the card again through Livestream starter decks, and there was a key card there. It's also being introduced in Shattered Stars with a very, very cool artwork that I want you guys to be able to enjoy.
Okay, well,
But ultimately, this is
at
a
least
great
there
card
will
that
be
has
a
lot of space
replacement
in the game.
artwork.
I think it just came a little too early in the metagame, and it ultimately created some bad taste in people's mouths with it being overwhelming.
Again,
by switching it
I
to
know I'm in the
suppression
minority on
strategy,
here. I
it's
do
more in
like
line
this
with what
card
the
a great
probably should
deal.
have been from the get-go, and this is a great learning experience for us. So I encourage you to leave your feedback on this approach for erratas in the future. We're going to continue to explore the Escape from Tartarus cards, and I'm looking forward to hearing how you feel about us doing this errata approach for very minor changes to card effects in the future. That concludes our ban and limited.
All right, so that's it. It's unfortunate I don't think any of these cards can probably move. I guess you could put Unk to like 3. I'm still not convinced that Pharaoh Geist needs to be at 1. But the rest of these cards probably do need to be hit. Wait, Race to the Top is still limited? No, that deck is quite good.
List for the upcoming format. There was a ton of cards that we tested and looked at, but ultimately decided to keep the changes to just these. I want to mention, I know there's been some discussions around the counter rune suite and the limiting of some of the power counter runes like Gorgon's Gaze, Shield of Achilles, Poison Tipped Arrow, and a few others. My goal is to continue to introduce more elemental specific runes, especially counter runes, that allow more interesting play patterns and create more dynamic gameplay strategies, as opposed to cards that are splashable into every single deck. This is something that's going to take a little bit of time, and you'll continue to see it built off of and developed in Livestream and future sets.
Okay, I am going to say something here that I know is going to get the knots mad at me. I don't think we should limit the back row suite. I think it is really important that you can kind of get a read on what the back row is. It was definitely ambitious to put crazy-ass back row in the first set. And I think the approach of printing really powerful cards like Monsoon is good. I think we just have to play catch-up. You know, I have no problem waiting for critters to outpace back row. I mean, we just had one in Like a Void. And I think hitting that sweet spot is going to be a lot easier if we're not constantly tweaking the amount of each individual card you can play.
Once those sets come out and we've introduced more options for players, especially elemental-specific options, then we can take a look at limiting some of these powerful counter runes to increase diversity among the metagame. It's worth noting that anytime you utilize a structure deck or starter deck, as long as it's unchanged, you can use it legally, even if it has banned or limited cards in it.
Oh, wait, can you use old Like a Void? Is he in a starter?
Our team is going to continue testing various scenarios and monitoring the competitive metagame and the health of the game, both with the launch of Elestrals Clash and the upcoming Premier events, to ultimately make Elestrals the best card game we possibly can. Don't forget, Elestrals Clash launches on early access on July 29th with this ban list in effect. We've got a wishlist campaign right now to unlock the Stellar, Werepup Buddy, and more, and we've got a Gleam giveaway to win a Steam Deck, so don't miss out. That's all in the description below. August 2nd is our next Premier event, so make sure you guys sign up. We've got Premier
And of course, the Poison Nectar Monthly is going to be this Sunday as well. I'm sure they will look at what happens at that event as well. So if you want to prove that this new ban list doesn't fix anything, feel free to. I don't know. It leaves a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth, personally. I don't like erratas. I think that they are the clunkiest way to correct any outstanding problem within an individual card game, and it irritates me to see another card game kind of falling for it. At the same time, I can't deny that Like a Void is a really strong card, and yeah, there is an argument that something had to be done about it. Justice for my boy Kindleo, though. He literally did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong.